1, 2, 3. And hello, fellows. Herogon here. Today is Wednesday, January 17th of 2023. It is now 12:49 p.m. And right now, things have been a bit tough. As much as I'd wish to say what has made this week tough, I'd like to save that news for another time, since it's a little personal to me. In other news, a few days from now, I will be off with my dad on a father-son cruise trip. A 4-night vacation with stops to Nassau and Ocean Key on the MSC Magnifica, just me and my dad, from January 22nd to January 26th. While this should not entirely affect the Funlog release for January 20 for the February 3rd date, since I do things bi-weekly now, it may affect the script writing process and anything else that has to do with making these videos and the sizzle reels, all that jazz. With that said, let's get into the Funlog. First up, January 7th, Sean the Bro covering joining online sessions via the session list. That includes determining what match to join based on name and improving networking. I am not much of an expert on online play, but I think it is good to have if you cannot do local multiplayer or do not have friends within the area yet. Big emphasis on the yet part for anyone that's been new to a town. Within the C++ code, we have two new functions that are, of course, interesting. Join online session and join online session completed. Join online session is a blueprint callable function where we attempt to join the online session, going through all the steps to connecting players. Join online session completed is when we have completed the online session joining, in which we can only provide a print string and not join an actual online match. I know it's a little bit of a bummer, but hey, improvements happen, okay? Give things time. Sean the Bro's a busy man, and so am I. Now, if join online session fails, actually, the final result may someday move our player into that server or connection, so yeah. If the join online session fails, it can also be called, but it provides a different print string result, with 0 or 1 being a successful joining. In short, join online session starts our joining process, while join online session completed finishes the joining process. We also have a new delegate and handle to join our code, and according to Sean the Bro, delegates are objects to call another event or function once certain conditions are reached. For example, a timer running out, or an operation being completed, etc. To trigger join online session, to trigger the join session completed delegate, actually, we will need to call join online session directly in the .cpp. Otherwise, we won't reach a point where the join session is complete if we don't do this. Now I should provide further details of the two new functions. in the join online session function. Actually, before this, we have to set our join session complete delegate to F on join session complete delegate. We create a U object and call this part in the U base game instance, call our join online session completed. Now within the join online session function, we check if we can retrieve the online subsystem before joining any online sessions. Then we get the session interface, which we can do things with. Otherwise, if we don't have these two lines in particular, we could get crashes. After those two lines, we grab the player control. After those two lines, we grab the first local player from the controller. We do this because the local player has something called Get Preferred Unique ID, which is useful. Now, we do this because the local player has something called Get Preferred Unique ID, which we can pass directly into Join Online Session for the local user ID parameter. Right around here, and right now we can only use an index 0 of search results because we can only do one session right now. So we need an if statement of search settings cast to search results.num is greater than 0. Right here. If it's less than or equal to 0, meaning we don't have any matches we can join, so we don't want to attempt to join any. Then in the join session complete join online session completed function, the two parameter variables used are the session name and join result here. Session name is currently hard-coded to my game session around here, I believe, but the join result has different numbers depending on whether the joining succeeds and its results. We also have two similar if statement lines to the join online session above, the if statements here, right after these print strings here. That's the one difference there. After the two if statements, we clear our handle and stop listening for the completion of the search operation, which we clear our onJoin session complete delegate handle using join session completed handle. Now for the blueprint side of things, we have some new stuff for the session list widget. Session list widget uses the event confirm from the widget navigation interface right now. We cast to session list element using the sessions vertical box and getting all our children and plugging it into our get array. The get array gets a copy of our stuff, and the integer used here is current index. Then we cast to the session list element first, and then cast to base game instance, and we use our new join online session function. We also have something new for the event back stuff in Blueprint on the sessions list, where we now call a boolean within fight screen known as isSessionListOpen. I'm unsure why I have used it when I removed the widget before session list already, but I'll keep it just in case Sean the Bro has something up his own sleeves. Next is January 14th, where Sean the Bro covers patch notes and update info. That stuff involves creating a news widget to display updated info, making patch notes pop up automatically when starting the game, and disabling the pop-up for news already viewed by the player. Oh dear. Even I end up with a weird script sometimes. Now, going back to the base game instance code in the .h file, we have a new data structure known as news entry data. News entry right here. This data structure contains 4 variables: ftext, title, and description, right here, utexture2d background, and boolean was read. We also have an array variable for fnews entry called news entries. In the .cpp file, we set it up using setNum right here. We set it to 1 and then fill out our title and description using ftext. Right here where it says the Bro Fight framework continues to improve and updates are amazing. Let's keep up this momentum in our community. Hero-tastic. For the background texture, things are a bit different where we use an if statement to check if the background is the one we are using. We also have a new blueprint callable function back in the .h called determine news to display right here, where we determine the news entry to display to the player. Using a for loop back in the .cpp, determine news to display is interesting. We determine the oldest unread news entry by using a for loop, and once all news entries have been read, we return a value of -1, so no entries will be returned if all news entries have been read. It's quite complex even for a for loop here, and of course an if statement determining if our news entries was not read. Back in the blueprints, we have a new widget called News Pop-Up. News Pop-Up is where we set our news data using a function so we can see our news via the UI. Listen for input action is used at the end of this whole event construct line. Right after the set news data, we use our action name of return P1, and that's pretty much like always with using widgets. We listen for input action and call back a custom event. Once we close the news pop-up, we cast to base game instance and set an array element using news entries as our target array. The index will have the item was read set to true. We get a creator widget ref here and set our is news pop-up open to false. Then the news pop-up is removed from the parent, thus leaving it out of our sight in game. You know what they say, out of sight, out of mind, right? Now on to the gameplay. To see if our online stuff works, we need to set our number of players to 2 in the multiplayer options in our editor. Once that is open, we will let one of the windows host a match and try to join using our other window. If you do end up seeing, you will notice the news pop-up appearing when we go to the main menu from the press any key screen. Joining the online session does take a while, so for that, I will likely not show off that part. I'm sorry. But what I can show off is the news pop-up right now. I go into the game, press anywhere. Whoop. Right here, our news pop-up shows here. Then we press the return, and it's off. And right here again, our stuff cannot be moved around. Of course, it's being covered by the pop-up, but once we press our delete, we can go back to controlling our stuff. There is always room to expand and improve, though. I'll give Sean the Bro that. Credit goes to Sean the Bro for all of his tutorials using Unreal Engine programming. I've used his tutorials since June 2021, and they're often popping tutorials for me, particularly the past 2 weeks of tutorials. With all of that said, I hope you like this video, so comment below and subscribe if you have not already. It helps a small YouTuber out like me or Sean the Bro, especially in times like these when the algorithm's attempting to crush smaller YouTube channels and even hurt some bigger ones too. With all of that, I've been Herogon, and you have been you. Thank you for tuning in, and I will catch you all later. Goodbye everyone, and have a hero-tastic day.